All right, it's Coach's Corner, number 15, on a topic that you probably never expected to hear from a football coach. But our topic today is vulnerability and how vulnerability leads to team building. Um, Rule number one with vulnerability is you need to be vulnerable for your staff and for your team. And let them know who you are and admit your mistakes and show them that you're a human being and create an environment then where your staff and your players feel safe to be vulnerable, where they can come to you with issues and they can um, you know demonstrate their difficulties and communicate those difficulties, and that shared vulnerability will build a connection within your program that's so much stronger than kind of the whole old school macho culture that is often built in um, athletic programs, particularly football programs. To give you a demonstration of the importance of vulnerability and how vulnerable you can use vulnerability to build a team, I'm going to tell you a story about my experience at Jackson High School. At the end of the 2014 season, is my second year at Jackson. We'd had a really difficult year, won one game, and we got to week 8, our second to last game, and just it was kind of a disaster. It was actually week 7. Had kind of a disaster. Lost to a really bad team, and the team kind of fell apart, turned on each other, and a lot of yelling and screaming and slamming stuff around in the locker room, and had to relieve a couple guys from the team, and it was just kind of a chaotic situation. And we did a pretty good job as a staff and as the team holding it together for those last 2 games. We didn't win the last 2 games, but we played much better. And kind of held it together. And as we went into the off season, we were looking for what do we need to do? What's the problem with our program that we need to mend to get us going in the right direction? And we had some, coaching staff had conversations with different kids, and my defensive coordinator tipped me off to one particular youngster, and he talked to a kid named Marcus, who was a sophomore. He was actually on the JV team, but he had been at the game and in the locker room when things blew up, and had been around the program. Was a pretty insightful kid and a pretty trusting kid. And so my defensive coordinator tipped me off to a conversation that he'd had with Marcus. And so I met with Marcus and I said, Marcus, what do you see as the problem in our program? Now, understand Jackson High School is probably the most diverse school in anywhere, really, state of Michigan. I mean, racially, socioeconomically, is just incredibly diverse, right? I mean, we got, about an equal split of white kids and African American kids, with a smattering of Asian and Hispanic and English second language kids, and just a really diverse school, really diverse football program. Socioeconomically, even more so diverse. I mean, I had kids live in $2 million mansions and kids that were homeless. I mean, it's just a very diverse, deal. And it seemed difficult to bring everybody together. And so I met with Marcus and I said, Marcus, what do you see as the problem, or what's the problem with the connection within our program? And he looked at me and he said, Coach, the black players don't trust the white coaches. And I said, why do you think that is? And he said, because they don't know what we go through. And I said, Marcus, when you say that, what do you mean? And he goes, well, like, I live with my sister. I don't live with my parents. I live with my sister, and the white coaches, they don't understand that because they've never had to go through that. And I said, Marcus, what do you know about Coach A on our staff? Oh, not much. I said, a white coach. I said, did you know that he didn't know who his dad was until he was in college, and never really had a very close relationship with his dad ever, even after that? No, I didn't know that. Well, what do you know about Coach B? Also a white coach. Not very much. And I said, well, he grew up single mom, poor as church mice, didn't have, good clothes or shoes or any of that kind of thing. And really relied on his grandparents and his uncle to help with a lot of things. I didn't know that. And we went on, and then went on and talked about some of our African American coaches who married their high school sweethearts and grew up in 2-parent homes. And I said, Marcus, it's not your fault that you don't know this. Okay. You don't know this because we haven't told you that. And we need to do better. We need to do that. And so we made a concerted effort to show ourselves who we are to our kids, and have the kids do the same with us, and to really kind of open up. And it did a lot of things. It made them understand that they didn't know where we came from as coaches, and we were able to then, through our vulnerability, make them feel safe to be vulnerable with us, so we can learn more about them, so we can do a better job of connecting with them. And they also connected together, because what they discovered was that the differences between them, their skin colors and their home situations, didn't mean that they were different. In reality, they had a lot of the same circumstances. So by being vulnerable as coaches, it encouraged the staff to be vulnerable, encouraged the kids to be vulnerable, and created a really tight bond amongst that group of kids that then went on the next year to break the school record for wins. So not only did we create lasting bonds that, will last forever in terms of just our relationships with each other, but it also created a winning culture, and we went on and made the playoffs virtually every year after that, and had a lot of success. So the one other activity that we've done to kind of demonstrate, to kind of structure that vulnerability in talks that we had in camp, I got from John Gordon. It's an activity called Highlight, Hardship, and Hero, where every kid and every coach gets up and talks about a highlight in their life, a hardship that they've had to go through in their life, and their hero, or a hero in their life. And that really kind of structures that vulnerability to where kids can talk about, and coaches can talk about. And I'm going to be honest, I had a coach that was totally against the whole vulnerability thing, and he did not buy in at all, and was not vulnerable, and really didn't buy into it, and was there for us for the winning, but it really wasn't for him. And he ended up stepping aside after that, just because I think we're operating a culture in our program that he wasn't comfortable with, and that's fine. It's like John Gordon and the energy bus. You got to get people in the right seats on the bus, and get the energy vampires off the bus. So if you're not going to buy into what we're doing, you got to go. But that's my talk on vulnerability. I hope you'll give us some thought, and we'll go. So have a great week, and be that coach that your kids need you to be.